Pompeii, Naples. It's around noon. There's a baker. His name was probably Modestus. We found his stamp on the bread, and he's pulling loaves out of the oven. His 81st loaf that day. We know this because archaeologists literally counted them. 81 pieces of bread, still sitting there, turned to charcoal 2,000 years later. I don't know why that detail hits so hard. Maybe because it's so normal. 81 loaves, just another Tuesday. Somewhere else in the city, there's a woman trying to hide her kids under a staircase. We found a ring on her finger that said Julia. That's it. That's all we know about her. Just Julia, trying to save her children. There's a slave in some rich guy's house, frantically packing silverware. And I assumed he was stealing it, by the way. First thing I thought. But no, he was trying to save his master's stuff. Loyal to the end. I don't know what to do with that. Is that beautiful? Is that just sad? I genuinely can't decide. And somewhere there's a couple holding each other. We don't know their names, never will, but we found them, still holding on. None of these people are gonna see tomorrow, but here's the weird part. We will see all of them. Their bread, their jewelry, their last embrace. 2,000 years later, we're still looking at their lunch. Pompeii isn't just a city that got destroyed. It's like, okay, this sounds dramatic, but it's the world's most messed up photograph. An entire civilization frozen mid-sentence. Most ancient cities give us broken columns and guesswork. Pompeii gave us everything. Let me show you how it happened and why it still matters. All right, so Pompeii, 79 AD. About 20,000 people, over 600 shops, and I had to double-check this number because I thought I read it wrong, at least 25 brothels. 25 for a town of 20,000.
Romans were not subtle about certain things. Let's leave it at that. But here's what blew my mind when I started researching. The thing that eventually killed everyone is the same thing that made them rich in the first place: volcanic soil. See, Vesuvius had been erupting on and off for thousands of years before humans even showed up. All that ash created some of the most fertile ground on the planet. Seeds basically planted themselves. Grapes got fat, olives dripped oil. The whole region was basically nature's garden on steroids. Pompeii wine was legendary, like actually legendary. Emperors drank it, senators hoarded cases of it. We've found Pompeii wine containers as far away as Britain. Britain! This random town in southern Italy was shipping luxury goods to the edge of the known world. And here's where it gets dark. Every grape they ate, every olive they pressed, every tomato. Wait. No, tomatoes came from America later. Scratch that. Every fig, I guess. Every fig they ate was grown in the ashes of people who died before them. They were literally farming the remains of previous destruction. They just didn't know it was coming back. Oh, and location. I should mention the location. Bay of Naples was basically the Mediterranean's Amazon warehouse. Everything came through. Grain from Egypt, marble from Greece, silk from wherever silk comes from. Rich Romans built vacation homes here. It was their Hamptons. But it wasn't just rich people sitting around. Serious money changed hands in Pompeii. Entertainment? Romans did not play around. The amphitheater held 20,000 people. The entire city could fit at once. Gladiator fights were the main attraction, obviously. We found graffiti on the walls, and I'm not making this up, that says, "Salatus the Thracian makes the girls moan." I have so many questions about this. Was Salatus aware of his reputation? Did he see this graffiti? How do you walk around town knowing people are writing that about you on walls? Anyway, ancient celebrity culture. Some things genuinely never change. Public baths were everywhere. But here's what nobody tells you. Romans didn't go there to get clean. That was like 10% of it. The baths were where you gossiped, made deals, talked politics, complained about your neighbor. It was Twitter before Twitter. If you wanted the hot takes, you went to the baths.
So that was Pompeii. Loud, smelly, chaotic, alive. But here's the thing about alive. It doesn't last. 17 years before everything went wrong, there was a massive earthquake. 62 AD. The Temple of Jupiter cracked open, houses collapsed, thousands died. And when the volcano finally erupted in 79 AD, 17 years later, the city was still being rebuilt. Scaffolding everywhere, fresh plaster smell, workers hammering all day. They thought the hard part was over. Now here's what I didn't understand until I really got into this. That earthquake, it was a warning. The magma chamber under Vesuvius was slowly filling up, pressure building. The earth was literally screaming at them, something is coming. But they didn't know. How could they? There was no volcanology, no seismographs, no scientists saying, hey, maybe we should evacuate. Just priests and prayers and hoping for the best. In the weeks before the eruption, though, weird stuff started happening. Wells that had flowed for generations suddenly dried up overnight. No explanation. Springs just vanished. Dead fish started washing up on beaches, way more than normal. Animals went insane. Dogs howling at 3 a.m. for no reason. Sheep refusing to graze in certain areas. Horses freaking out.
They talked about it in the baths, prayed about it in the temples. The priests did sacrifices. Everyone felt uneasy. But here's my question, and I've been thinking about this a lot. Would you have left, seriously, your house, your shop, your entire life? Would you just abandon everything because some wells dried up? Because your dog was acting weird? I don't think I would have. And I think most people wouldn't either. It would seem crazy. Vesuvius had been quiet for 800 years. 30 generations of people had lived and died looking at that mountain, and it never did anything. Why would tomorrow be different? Some of the most expensive real estate in Italy was on the volcano's slopes. Rich people wanted to live there for the views. So on October 24th, 79 AD, everyone woke up to just another day. Late October. The harvest had just ended. Perfect weather. Cool, sunny, clear skies. At my Destus's bakery, they'd put the 81st loaf in the oven. Kids were walking to school. Yeah, Roman kids went to school. Reading, writing, math. Same as now, minus the smartphones. Merchants opening shops. Street vendors setting up. Normal morning stuff. Around 10 a.m., a fisherman out in the bay noticed something weird. Thin smoke coming from the top of Vesuvius. He didn't know what to make of it. The mountain had always been quiet, always green, always just there. But here's the cruel part. From Pompeii itself, you couldn't see this smoke. Wrong angle. The mountain blocked the view. The city had zero idea anything was wrong. At the Thermopolia, those are ancient fast food places, basically food trucks without the trucks. Workers were eating lunch, rich families being served by slaves, kids coming home from morning classes. This was the last normal hour Pompeii would ever have.
I keep thinking about that. The last normal hour. At some point, you're living your last normal moment, and you have no idea. Around 1 in the afternoon, there was a sound. Not like thunder, deeper. The kind of sound you feel in your chest before your ears pick it up. Vesuvius exploded. A column of ash and rock and superheated gas shot into the sky at 500 meters per second. That's faster than the speed of sound. Within minutes, it was 25 kilometers high, twice as high as commercial planes fly. Across the bay, there was a 17-year-old kid named Pliny watching this happen. He was staying with his uncle, Pliny the Elder, who commanded the Roman navy. Years later, Pliny the Younger, that's the kid, wrote letters describing exactly what he saw. He said the cloud looked like a pine tree, a trunk going up, then spreading out at the top. Those letters are the first eyewitness account of a volcanic eruption ever written. Scientists today literally call this type of eruption Plinian because of him. This teenager basically invented disaster journalism. Okay, so what happened in Pompeii? First came ash, fine gray dust getting everywhere, through windows, under doors, into your lungs. Then bigger pieces, pumice stone, light individually, but it was piling up at 15 centimeters every hour. Midday became midnight, complete darkness. People couldn't see their hands in front of their faces. Imagine that. 1 minute it's noon, sunny, you're eating lunch. Next minute, pitch black, rocks falling from the sky, complete chaos. People ran into the streets with pillows tied to their heads. Some used wooden boards, shields, whatever they could find. Everyone had the same question: do we stay or do we run? And there was no right answer. That's the horrible part. Stay inside, your roof might collapse. Run outside, get hit by falling rocks. Head for the harbor, ships might not sail. Every single choice was a gamble.
It's collapsing! Move! Get the children!
By evening, roofs were collapsing everywhere. Roman houses had flat roofs, meant for rain, not rock rain. Pumice was knee-deep in the streets, then waist-deep. Doors wouldn't open because the weight of stone outside was pressing against them. People got trapped in their own houses. Most survivors headed for the harbor, hoping for rescue boats. But ships couldn't leave. The wind had shifted. It was blowing toward shore. The older Pliny, the uncle, tried to sail in and rescue people. He died trying. They found his body on the beach 2 days later. Around midnight, the pumice rain stopped. It got quiet. Some people thought it was over. They prayed thanks. It wasn't over. The worst part was just starting. At 1 a.m., the eruption column collapsed. For 12 hours, Vesuvius had been shooting material into the sky. The energy ran out. Gravity won. 25 kilometers of superheated stuff just fell. But it didn't float down like smoke or ash. It hugged the ground, and it started moving. They call it a pyroclastic surge. Sounds almost elegant when you say it. It's not. Temperature, 300 to 500 degrees Celsius. Speed, 150 to 200 kilometers per hour. Basically, a race car made of fire, hugging the ground. If you're in its path, you don't run, you don't hide, you just stop existing. First, it hit Herculaneum. This was Pompeii's neighbor, right at the base of the volcano. Smaller city. And here's the horrible twist. They had escaped the pumice rain. The wind was blowing toward Pompeii, not them. They thought they were safe. There were 300 people hiding in boat storage vaults by the harbor. Stone rooms felt secure. They were waiting for rescue ships.
When the surge hit, it was instant. Scientists say they probably didn't even feel pain. The heat killed faster than nerves can send signals. Their muscles contracted in the heat, freezing them in weird positions. We found them exactly where they died, some holding children, some clutching jewelry, some embracing strangers. I need to pause here for a second. I've been researching disasters for a while now, and you get kind of numb to big numbers. 30,000 dead, 50,000 dead. it stops meaning anything. But those 300 people in the boat vaults, for some reason that one got me. Maybe because they thought they were safe. They'd made it through the worst part. They were just waiting for morning. And then... Anyway, Pompeii got hit by 3 surges that night. The first 2 stopped at the city walls, the ancient stone walls built centuries earlier to keep out human enemies, held back the volcanic death. Barely. The third one didn't stop. 150 kilometers per hour, 300 degrees. It came through. Knocked down whatever was still standing. It lasted about 1 minute. 1 minute. That's all it took. A city of 20,000 people became a graveyard. In 1863, an archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli was digging through hardened ash. He noticed something weird. Holes, empty spaces shaped like humans. What happened was the bodies had decomposed over centuries, but the ash around them hardened, left behind perfect negative space, like a mold. Fiorelli had an idea. He poured liquid plaster into the holes, and Pompeii's victims came back. Not skeletons, full forms. Their clothes, their posture, their facial expressions. You can see fabric wrinkles. You can see terror on faces. I've seen photos. I can't unsee them. They look like they died yesterday. The Garden of the Fugitives has 13 people caught while running, almost made it out. There are children with small hands reaching toward adults. But the one that really got me, and I've been thinking about this for days, is the House of the Golden Bracelet. 4 people found under a staircase. For over 100 years, everyone assumed it was a family. Mother, father, 2 kids. The mother wore a gold bracelet and was holding a child. Nice story. A Roman family dying together. In 2024, they did DNA testing. The mother was a man. The children were both male. None of the 4 were related. 4 complete strangers. Found each other in the dark. Died together, holding on. I've been chewing on that for a week now. We'll never know their names. Never know how they met, what they said in those final moments. Were there words, prayers, just silence and grip? But when the world ended, strangers didn't let go of each other. They didn't die alone. There's something in that. I'm not sure what exactly, but there's something. Next morning, Pompeii was gone. 6 meters of ash. Only the tops of the tallest temples were visible. The amphitheater was just a mound. The streets, the shops, Julia and her children, buried. Here's something I didn't expect. Most people survived. About 18,000 of the 20,000 got out before the surges hit. They became refugees, scattered across Italy. They never went back. Around 2,000 stayed. Some couldn't leave their property. Some couldn't get out in time. Some stayed to help others. Rome sent rescue teams, but there was nothing to rescue. They pulled out some statues, some bronze, whatever was sticking out, then left.
Within 1 generation, people forgot where Pompeii even was. It became a weird field where farmers occasionally found old stuff while plowing. For 1,700 years, it just sat there, buried. Then in 1748, workers digging for a building project found a wall with paintings on it. Pompeii came back, not as a city, but as a time machine, bread still in ovens, wine still in cups, dogs frozen at their chains, election graffiti still on walls, vote for Gaius, he makes good bread. We know almost everything about Roman daily life because of this disaster. Without Pompeii, we'd only have writings from emperors and senators, rich people stuff. Here we have regular people, bakers, slaves, kids. Vesuvius is still there, by the way, still active. It's erupted over 40 times since 79 AD. In 1631, 3,000 people died. In 1944, during World War II, it erupted again and wrecked American planes. And today, 3 million people live in the danger zone. Naples is one of Europe's most crowded cities. They have evacuation plans, color-coded maps, official routes. But realistically, getting 600,000 people out in a few days in Naples traffic while a volcano is actively erupting and everyone is panicking? I hope we never test that plan. The Pompeians had an excuse. No science, no way to know. What's ours? If you ever go to Pompeii, you'll see tourists everywhere, selfie sticks, laughing, posing with ruins. And then you stop, and you actually look. These aren't ruins. This was a courtroom. People's lives got decided here. This was a bakery. It smelt like bread every morning. This was someone's home. Children played here while parents worried about rent and neighbors and dinner.
And that plaster cast? That was a person, breathing, worrying, loving, afraid. Pompeii teaches you that nothing is permanent. The ground opens, the sky falls. You can be stopped mid-sentence, mid-lunch, mid-hug, with all your little worries still spinning in your head. But it shows you something else, too. 2,000 years later, we're still looking at their bread, reading their love notes scratched into walls, staring at a child's hand reaching for help. And we recognize ourselves. Same hopes, same fears, same humanity. Pompeii is gone, but it left itself behind for us. See you next time.